part of this video on the road because they tend to view me a little bit less when I'm driving. So what is best for the white community, the Jewish community, and the LGBT community? Well, let's talk brain function, right? The frontal lobe, right? Various parts of the brain, okay? The brain, has to do with judgment, right? Sexual activity, sexual pleasure, fight or flight, right? Rewards and punishments, balance and coordination, fine motor movements, okay? Gross motor movements, okay? What have you, okay? Refined movements, more basic movements, okay? These things are connected, right? The frontal lobe, okay? Let's talk about the different parts of the brain, like the cerebellum, the cerebrum, okay? Amygdala, thalamus, hippocampus. And so what is going on here when people slip into a state of denial? So first and foremost, I think that white privilege is destroying white people. It's destroying Jewish people, because Jewish people and white people, they're basically the same thing. Judaism is a religion. In popular culture, they're basically of a European group, okay, or a bunch of European groups, okay. Some of them even have blonde hair, blue eyes, right, red hair, and so on and so forth, okay, redheads. So first comes the privilege, then comes the guilt and denial, right? And these things have a certain effect on your brain function. When you're a Prince Humperdinck person and you're some kind of giddy villain, okay, some kind of mocker, some kind of smug scoffer, you sneer at people, you smirk at people, okay, it has an effect. 1 in 5 CEOs are said to be psychopaths. It has an effect when you've aligned yourself to psychopaths and you're a narcissist, or you're aligned to narcissists, or you're a psychopath and you're aligned to psychopaths, or whatever, right? One way or another, you're in that group, it has an effect. You're in the same spirit of greed as psychopaths and narcissists. So it's trickled down narcissism, psychopathy, and some of these guys are rich child molesters that operate with impunity, okay, and they know people like the directors of FBI, CIA. They know the people who can say something as a matter of national security, and they're taking care of it, basically. You see what I'm saying? And so it's operating with impunity. It's also fragility, right? You're too mentally fragile. You become sensitive. I don't want to talk about that. Your guilt and your fragility are really kicking in. So these are valid concepts. Exactly what it means to be privileged, right? It doesn't mean you don't have to stop at a stop sign if you're white. You see what I'm saying? So it's pinpointing what the privilege is and isn't, and understanding what fragility is and isn't, and denial, okay, and guilt. Generational guilt reduces brain function. And it's not a coincidence that we see judgment and the movements of the body are connected. This is why nerds are considered foolish and contemptible, but they don't move very well, right? Movement meaning mind, as in mental, right? The mind-body connection, bodily kinesthetic intelligence. And also you have to take in the stimuli from the environment, right? What's going on? You got to observe things, make judgment calls. So judgment, movement, right? Like playing basketball. Say, am I going to dribble through the legs? Am I going to, do a layup? Am I going to do a jump shot? Am I going to fake this way, fake that way, pass the ball around my back, alley-oop? You're making judgment calls, and you're refining brain function. So we see that, in popular culture, and I don't really care about races, mind you, black people are said to be the most down to earth, and they're said to be the most athletic, and it's connected. There's a reason why they voted for Obama, right? Because they say these guys tend to have a good head on their shoulders, at least in some forms of black people, so we're going to vote for him, right? And he's nice mixed with white, and so a nice little package deal there, and boom. So he became the president, and he won again a second term. 8 years, okay, as the first president of color. Okay, now again, I don't give a fuck about that. Okay, these are just the evidence of the argument that I'm presenting. Okay, so what is the right thing to do is to highlight this. You see what I'm saying? So what is best for white people? Is it to have the guilt of covering that up? Okay, look where we are now as a nation, right? You see the on the when I put on the screen. Okay, why are people acting weird? Okay? You know, why were so many children molested in the churches, right? Catholic churches, Protestants too. It's a little bit more obscure. Some Catholic guy did an article about why the Catholic Church is disproportionately blamed when so many Protestants molest people. You know, there's Protestant people molest people in the Boy Scouts and so on and so forth. Okay? Now we also look at the Klan was a Protestant organization. Okay, the Ku Klux Klan, right? A bunch of Protestants. William Joseph Simmons, who started the biggest grouping of the Klan, phase of the Klan, the second Klan is what they're called. Okay, had as many as 6 million members. He was in like a dozen or more fraternities. Okay, very accepted person in the white community, and there's a reason why we have the word WASP, White Anglo-Saxon Protestant. Pretty straightforward, right? That we also see on the screen that Satan is popular, and most of these Christians who actually are worshiping the devil do not publicly profess an allegiance to Satan for the most part. Okay, so therefore Satan's popularity isn't just with rock and roll people, New Age people, Luciferians, okay, atheistic Satanists is what they call themselves, because they just argue. They don't actually believe in the Bible or God is their argument, and they just believe that Satan is the protagonist of the story. Okay, so there's various groups of people, right? The rock and roll, heavy metal, punk rock, okay, the rappers, and so on and so forth. Okay, I think it goes deeper than the liberals, because there's also satanic cults that are conservatives, especially ones affiliated with the church. And sometimes they're so obviously evil that even though they belong to some kind of church, it's like a racist church. They may as well be a self-proclaimed satanic organization. Okay, and then that also was bad. You see how what had happened? Their unwillingness to talk about God in a way that was fair with everybody led them to be a Satanist. Then they deny it at times. They say, "Oh, I'm a good Christian." No, you don't know what you're talking about. That just because I do that doesn't mean I this, and this. You know what I'm saying? Denial, right? Guilt. And they go home and look in the mirror, and they look like the main character from King of the Hill when he looks sad and guilty. He's like, "Oh, they make me do it, Dale. I don't know, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't know fucking what happened if we didn't do this, man. You know what I'm saying?" And you know, that is the situation. America is basically a satanic state. So we see the George Washington Baphomet. It does not matter if the George Washington statue is based on the Baphomet or vice versa or whatever. It does not matter. Okay, it's just an unnecessary overkill. It doesn't matter if Uncle Sam is based on some kind of satanic thing. It's an unnecessary overkill. So remember that when I put forth that, yes, I believe there's a connection. Yes, I believe it's obvious. Yes, I believe when we talk about cartoonage and animus, what is the spirit? What is the essence of the statue? What is the essence, right? Well, one thing is he's out of shape, right? Movement, right? He's unfocused. He's out of touch. It's easier to disassociate when you're out of touch. Okay, even if you go to the gym, and you work out in the spirit of being out of touch, which basically every American who goes to the gym does, okay, you're not necessarily becoming more in touch. Your brain function is being rewired around being a fucking idiot. So you're like an idiot who's improving the connections of their brain in order to be an idiot. So you're making a strong kind of infrastructure of idiot in your brain wiring. Okay, you're like, I'm an idiot. You know what I'm saying? That's why we get, some of these bodybuilders. They're big, strong guys, and they're dumber than shit because their regiment is stupid. Their philosophy is stupid. Their lifestyle is stupid. Their goals are stupid. Okay? And they refuse to be smart. And then we see when they're not working out quite often, there's this big, fat, blubbery guy, you know what I'm saying? Titties flapping in the wind, because their brain function is not necessarily being optimized, okay, because of their exact workout regimen. Where if you do martial arts in the divine order with moral intensity, you improve. So when you look at this thing in terms of martial theory, it's really martial fact. We'll call it theory for the sake of argument to try to be more scientific, quote unquote. Somebody who, if you have two guys and they're equally healthy, let's say they're identical, and one of them trained martial arts through me, and the other one went to the average American regiment and went to the average American martial arts school. The one who trained martial arts through me would be vastly superior, because he would live in reality and wrap his mind around the importance of defeating those with an inferior cause, okay, and things like this. His brain function would be optimized. He wouldn't have glitches in his brain from lying to himself about reality. One's ability to have spatial and existential and intra and interpersonal intelligence, right? How 3D objects relate in nature, the questions in regards to why we're here, understanding yourself and others, okay? In order to have to have these things and to the best of your ability, you have to live in reality and tell the truth. If you start convincing yourself that trees are really Care Bears, you're gonna have brain, you're gonna have problems in regards to brain function. Your brain has to reconcile that.